Today we're going to practice blacklight technique, but we're going to do it without a blacklight or even without blacklight chalk. One of the neat things about blacklight technique is that you can practice it even if you don't have the right kind of chalk or a blacklight. What you do is you work with a dark piece of paper. It can be a very dark blue, navy blue, it can be black. Here, this particular case, this paper that I'm working on, you can see from down here at the bottom, is actually a gray sheet of paper. It's called gray bogus paper, but I've used black chalk and an eraser and have smoothed it out. Got a nice black surface here. What we're going to do today is draw a picture that is a face of Jesus. Chalk artists often will draw a blacklight picture of Jesus, maybe the return of Jesus or his resurrection, sometimes just him looking down. I've got one drawing where I draw Jesus as a shepherd and he's looking down on a flock of sheep. There are a lot of different things to do and a lot of different ways that you can work in a picture of Jesus into your blacklight effects, but to do that it's helpful to be able to draw a face, and if you're like me, faces can be one of the more difficult things to draw. I'm going to show you what we call a formula face. It's a very simple way of drawing a face in blacklight technique, and if you practice it this way without blacklight chalk, you will, I think, very quickly be able to get a handle on how to do it. Now again, I've already got my paper black. I'm going to use two different colors, and the two different colors I'm going to use are, this is dull peach and this is light peach. I'm going to use the dull peach mostly. The light peach is a little bit too light to do flesh tones with, so we'll come back with that and do some highlighting. Then I will also use a little bit of blue and a little bit of white. Now the chalk I'm using is lecturer's chalk. It's 1 inch square by 3 inches long. Real big, it's very soft, similar to a pastel like you would buy at Michael's or some other art store, but you can't find this at art stores. You have to go online to buy it. You can get it from Matt Bowman at eternityarts.com, and it's great stuff to work with, even if you're not interested in being a chalk artist. It's light, it's soft, you can really do a lot of different things with it, and I love to draw with it even if I'm not doing a chalk drawing in front of people. So we're going to start out with our formula face, and I'm going to take actually the length of the chalk. I'm going to draw with the side of it. I'm going to begin my formula face by drawing a rectangle. Now remember, when we draw in blacklight technique, we're drawing where the light is hitting the object. So here we have the forehead. Now I know nobody has a square forehead unless it's Frankenstein, but we're not drawing Frankenstein. We're going to be moving on to draw what can be understood as a picture or a face of Jesus. But we start out with that rectangle. Again, this is a formula face. I'm trying to give you just a real simple way of doing it. So take your stick of pastel and you're going to go just right down the edge. Roughly the rectangle should be about twice as wide as it is high. Next, I'm going to draw the bridge of the nose. To do that, I'm going to take a corner, and again, I'm going to kind of make sure I'm in the middle of the picture, or not in the middle of the picture, but in the middle of the forehead. And then I'm going to just draw the bridge of the nose like that. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail at this point. I merely want to place it. So I've got the bridge of the nose drawn. I'm going to cut that down just a little bit there. Okay, next I'm going to draw just below that what's called the philtrum. It's that little place, that little notch right under your nose in between the right and left sides of your lips. I'm going to drop down just a little below the nose and again put a notch there for the philtrum. And then below that I'm going to draw the bottom lip. Okay, and I'm not at this point going to go into a lot of detail. I'm just putting a suggestion of a bottom lip. Now about halfway down the nose I'm going to draw a kind of like a sideways parenthesis sign. It's not really a semicircle because it's not quite that round, But what these are going to suggest are the upper cheekbones and the bottom of the orbit of the eye. And again, we've got the top of the eye up there. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to come down below that lower lip, and I'm going to draw a couple little lines here. And those lines are, again, if you're drawing somebody with a beard, that's the places where your skin shows through underneath the lip. Okay, and then I'm going to drop down just a little bit further, and just going to suggest the neck right about there, and give it a little to again suggest a chin. Now, I'm not drawing in detail just yet. I'm getting everything is kind of getting placed at this point. We come from the bottom of the nose. We're going to come over here to the side, and we're going to suggest a couple earlobes. Okay. And you notice I say suggest because in chalk art a lot, when we draw something, remember we're not drawing it for close-on inspection. When you do a chalk drawing in front of 100 people in a church auditorium or wherever, they're going to be seeing this picture from 30 to 40 feet away. So what you're doing is trying to create enough images there so that their eye will resolve and blend it together, and it's going to look like a face. Now, as we come back here, one thing, you'll notice it's almost kind of triangular. We're going to work on that. Also, the cheeks there, maybe a little bit, need to come a little bit wider. And of course, we've got to take care of the Frankenstein forehead, because that's not going to... For erasing chalk, a lot of times I'm going to just use a simple foam craft brush. These are great for erasing chalk. And I'm just going to kind of come up and I'm going to round the forehead just a bit. Now, if I were doing this in black light, I would come back in and I would put more white chalk where I took this little bit out, but I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. Okay, we're going to round just a little bit here too. Okay, and I'm going to probably just a little bit more of a hairline just by pulling that little bit down there. Okay, so we're going to soften that out a little bit. I'll come back in with a little bit of black just to kind of help emphasize what I've taken out there. Okay. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is come up here and see where the nose comes back in, and see again it's very square. That's not how it's going to look. So I'm going to round off those corners right there very lightly. I'm not pushing on the chalk very hard. Okay, but what I want to do is get more of a circular feel to the orbits of the eye. Okay, I'm going to come down here again and kind of soften the bottom edge here of the cheekbones. Okay, I'm going to drag my finger just real lightly down here, soften some of these things. Okay, now, and got a lot of dark spots showing through on the forehead. It's not a real big problem, but I'm going to smooth those out just a bit. Now, for the eyes are very difficult to do in blacklight chalk because if you try to draw the whites of the eyes and the irises, what happens more often than not is they tend to be brighter than the rest of the chalk, and you end up drawing a face that almost looks frightening because the eyes are just so bright in comparison to everything else. So a lot of chalk artists, not all of us, there's some who actually do draw the whites of the eyes, but personally for the drawings that I do, I just prefer to leave most of the eye in shadow. What I will do is I draw just a couple lines here that are going to signify the upper eyelid. Okay, so I do a short one on top and a longer one on bottom, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to draw a horizontal line that's going to indicate the bottom eyelid. And that's about as much as I'm going to do. Much more than that really tends, in my opinion, to kind of mess the picture up. So that's about as far as I'm going to go with that. Okay, so we're down here and extending the cheeks down just a little bit. Okay, still have some work to do around the nose and the mouth, but before I do that, I want to suggest some of the rest of the head. Well, the way I do that is, rather than drawing the hair, for starters, I'm going to take a stick of blue chalk, and I'm going to suggest, basically I'm going to work with negative space. I'm going to draw the space around the hair, and I will tend to, when I first do this, I'm going to leave or draw in a lot of extra space, simply because it's easier to trim the hair down than to make it look bigger. So I'm coming here. I've got a lot more hair than I need, a lot more up here particularly, but what I will do is I'll come in and I will begin to sculpt it a little bit and get the hair kind of to where I like it. If I want to draw in a robe, well, one thing I will do also with this blue background, I will kind of come in and cut in some shoulders to give you, again, more of a body feel. And then, if I'm wanting to draw like a white robe or something, I'm going to come down here and, again, just cut in the robe. I'm not spending as much time on this as I normally would. I just want to kind of suggest it. Okay, but there I've got some shoulders. I've got a little background here with the eye. Okay, forehead. Again, every face is different. His is very broad here. Every time I draw this, it tends to come out a little bit different. But we're doing pretty good. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and kind of get a feel where I want his mustache to be. I'm just going to gently come in, extend down. You'll notice I don't spend a great deal of time adding nose detail, and again, it's similar to with the eyes. It is harder to really make it look good, so I tend to leave more of the nose in shadow. Okay, I want to just kind of suggest again, come out here, get the mustache, bring that down, bring the face a little bit more out. Okay, it's a little too far there. Okay, if I've got, again, more chalk on there than I want, I'm going to come back in here, throw in a little black to kind of take that down just a little bit. For me, this is actually easier to do with blacklight chalk than it is with visible chalk. Alright, now the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my light peach, I'm going to do just a little bit of highlighting. Got to be real careful with the highlighting, particularly with the blacklight chalk, because a little highlighting goes a really long way. But I'm going to just add a little bit in the forehead, Again, a little bit on the cheekbones, and then with the hair, I'm going to hit the highlights, but not just a terrible amount of detail. Again, people, if I'm doing this for a chalk art presentation, people are seeing it from 30 to 40 feet away. Most of the detail you add, they won't even see. So what I want to do is just add enough to create that suggestion, that illusion of a face. Okay. Actually want to darken that just a touch there. Right, and there you have it. Just a real simple approach for a face of Jesus. Again, I've left out some of the detail. Again, the nose I don't put a lot in. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this in blacklight technique with blacklight chalk, so you can see how it looks when I do it that way. But this is a simple formula face to practice on to learn how to draw a face of Jesus. And chalk artists learn to draw that face, but then we learn to draw it in all sorts of different sizes as well. And then as you become more advanced, then we work on drawing a profile, drawing a 3/4, and so on. But for starters, you want to work on just the straight-on face. And so I hope you get some chalk out and some pastels, some dark paper, and give this a try. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.